July 19, 2016, the WWE Draft, Raw, the 3-hour flagship, drafts Seth Rollins, Charlotte Flair, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, The New Day, and Sasha Banks. SmackDown Live, the new 2RB show, Ditz Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, John Cena, Becky Lynch, The Miz and, well, a lot of what people called leftovers. In the summer of 2016, the battle for brand supremacy wasn't just a tagline. It was a mission statement. Raw was the established giant, the sports entertainment spectacle. SmackDown Live, run by Commissioner Shane McMahon and General Manager Daniel Bryan, had a different strategy. It couldn't compete with Raw's star power, so it had to compete on quality. It branded itself as the land of opportunity, a show where the wrestling would be the focus. For 2 months, it was a promise. But on September 11, 2016, at Backlash, the very first brand-exclusive pay-per-view of the new era, that promise became a fact. This is the story of Backlash 2016, the night SmackDown Live proved to everyone that it was, without a shadow of a doubt, the wrestling show. How did they do it? By making everything matter. Raw had the 4 horsewomen narrative locked down with Charlotte and Sasha. SmackDown had to build a division from the ground up. Their solution, the six-pack challenge. Becky Lynch, Natalya, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Nikki Bella. This match wasn't just a great opener. It was a statement of intent. It showcased everyone. Naomi got to show off her incredible athleticism. Carmella and Nikki Bella had their own story built in. Alexa Bliss was just beginning to show flashes of the goddess persona. But the story, the real story, was Becky Lynch. For years, Becky had been the other horsewoman. She was the one left behind, the lovable loser who always came up short. When she finally got that last elimination on Carmella, the crowd erupted. It was pure, emotional, pro-wrestling storytelling. The workhorse, the ultimate babyface, finally won the big one. SmackDown didn't just create a new title. It anointed its first true, homegrown women's champion in the most satisfying way possible. The wrestling show had its first pillar. But a wrestling show isn't just about 5-star matches, it's about stakes. And in 2016, no one had higher stakes than Heath Slater. The free agent storyline was pure gold. It was simple, it was relatable, and it was the most organically over thing in the company. Slater and his odd couple partner Rhino, in a tournament they had to win for Slater to get a SmackDown contract, were facing the Usos in the final. This match had layers. The Usos had just turned heel in a career-defining move, taking out American Alpha and becoming the most dangerous team on the roster. They were the perfect villains for Slater and Rhino's fairy tale. When Rhino hit the gore and Slater got the pin, it was a moment. It was a C-plot storyline that the company treated with a plot importance. SmackDown proved that every story matters, from the bottom of the card to the top. It was funny, it was emotional, and it had a perfect payoff. The wrestling show had its heart. And then, there was the Intercontinental Championship. Let's be blunt, for years, the IC title was treated as a prop, but in the weeks leading up to Backlash, The Miz made it the single most talked about championship in all of wrestling. His promo on Talking Smack against Daniel Bryan wasn't just the promo of the year. It was a career-defining injection of reality, passion, and fire. The Miz wasn't just a cowardly heel, he was a heel who believed he was an underappreciated A-lister. Dolph Ziggler, the perennial show-off, was the perfect foil, desperate to prove he still had it. The match they had wasn't a spot fest, it was a story. It was 18 minutes of brilliant, old-school psychology. It was a throwback to the days of Savage and Steamboat, where the IC title was the workhorse championship. And the finish, perfect. A dirty win for the heel, using his wife to get the job done. It didn't end the feud, it escalated it. It made you hate Miz and sympathize with Ziggler. This feud would go on to main event other shows. At Backlash, SmackDown proved that their mid-card title was more important than most main events. And by the way, this show also had Bray Wyatt vs. Randy Orton, which turned into Bray vs. Kane in a no-holds-barred match after Bray took Orton out backstage. It was the one sports entertainment buffer on the card, and it served its purpose. But it only stood out because everything else was so grounded in wrestling. And finally, the main event. Dean Ambrose, the unhinged babyface champion, versus AJ Styles, the man who had just come off a clean, definitive victory over John Cena at SummerSlam. This was the ultimate test. Was SmackDown going to stick with Ambrose, a holdover from the Authority era, as its champion? Or was it going to pull the trigger on the single best in-ring performer on the planet? The match was outstanding. It was 25 minutes of Ambrose's brawl and chaos against Styles' surgical, phenomenal precision. It had everything you want in a world title match: big moves, incredible near falls, and a crowd that was hanging on every single second. And in the end, SmackDown made the right choice. A low blow protected Ambrose but gave the decisive, shocking victory to AJ Styles. This was the final piece of the puzzle. The wrestling show now had the best wrestler in the world as its world champion. The house that AJ Styles built officially began right here. Look at the results of Backlash 2016. A new, beloved women's champion was crowned. A months-long, comedic, emotional story for the tag titles got its perfect, happy ending. The Intercontinental title was elevated to main event status, and the WWE Championship was placed on the shoulders of the best belt-to-belt performer of his generation. Backlash 2016 wasn't the biggest show of the year. It didn't have The Rock or Brock Lesnar. But it was, from top to bottom, one of the most cohesive, logical, and satisfying pay-per-views WWE had produced in years. It was a show where every title mattered, every story had a purpose, and the in-ring action delivered. Raw could keep its 3 hours, its celebrity hosts, and its part-time legends. On September 11, 2016, SmackDown Live put its flag in the ground and proved to the world that it was the show. It was the wrestling show. And for the next year, it would be the best weekly wrestling program on television. And it all started on this one night. Thanks for watching, guys. What are your memories of Backlash 2016? Do you agree that this was the peak of the brand split era? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this, please consider subscribing for more wrestling retrospectives. See ya.